manhood.neat podcast. Oh, we are back. It's been like 6 years, it feels like, Dwat, but we are finally back. How we doing?
It does. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do this. I don't know if I need to make some notes or something.
Yeah, it feels like the first time all over again, don't it?
Yeah, not to spoil, like, obviously people are going to find out what we're talking about. They already know, they're going to see the title. Don't think it's not lost on me that we're going to talk about simplicity, and this has been the most complex time trying to schedule a time for you and I both. So don't think that's not lost on me.
Yeah. The world, the universe is anything if not ironic, right? So
yeah, no doubt. But no, we're good, man. Just kids are out of school, and so my girls are enjoying that. My middle is going to do a dairy cow this summer, so she's having some second thoughts now that she has to get up and she can't sleep in, till the middle of the morning. So she has to get up, go to cow camp, and do that kind of thing. But she's excited. We're excited. We've never done a dairy cow before, so we're excited.
I just think of Napoleon Dynamite, where she's like tasting the milk blindfolded and be like, this one got into an onion patch. This one.
Yeah. Yeah. But now we're good. What about you?
Man, life has been, to quote Ben Lewis, not a lot, man. No, that's a lie. Life's been very busy. So Liz had her shoulder surgery. Finally.
That's right.
So that's delayed. That delayed us a week. The first week we missed was because of that. And then, so obviously, like rotator cuff surgery, you kind of lose. She already couldn't use her arm. Now she really can't use that arm. And so,
right.
Been trying to, keep up. She's doing her best to do what she can around the house. She does a good job. She does more than I probably would. I'd just lay on the couch and cry. But she's doing good. But then work was also like, we're like rolling full steam trying to get this last herbicide round done. So it's been a lot of 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. type work days, and then coming home and trying to get laundry and that kind of stuff, and help out where I can with that. So it's been busy. It's been busy, but it's been good, so.
Yeah, and then on top of all of the life stuff, we had brand new Destiny content drop.
Dude.
And, at one point, and we had this discussion, like I was going to take off work to play. Like I was so excited about the culmination of this saga, right? And then I had some stuff happen at work, and it took me 3 days to like get into the game. So
I don't even want to hear about it because I'm still yet to beat the campaign, man. Like I'm working on it. I'm getting close.
I know. So. I know. And like, it's I get it, man. It's I just want to play video games with my friends online. That's really what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, can I get paid for that? That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So so that's the other thing too. Is like this overwhelming burden of getting Destiny done has been atop me, so I can actually play with you guys again. So we'll get through the campaign, so I can actually do some some other stuff. But it's been good. It's like I said, it's busy. Our oldest is in town for the weekend for Father's Day, so this is kind of fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah, Kanan's, to top it all off, he started football. They had spring training in June because that's stupid. So he's got one more week of that, but it's 3 nights a week from 6 to 8, and it's June. It's bleachers. It's the South. It's hot. It's muggy.
Sure.
It's rough. So
yeah, it's 98 degrees right here where I'm at outside currently as you and I sit and record this.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what is going on. Like so I know. I mean, we can geek out on the weather, but like the troughs and mountains of the jet stream have swapped, and so we've got all this hot air coming out of the Gulf just hanging over the southeast, and so it is super hot and muggy, and like in my house can't like the air conditioner, as soon as it cuts off, the humidity automatically just goes up, and my dehumidifiers are like, nah, we're done, we're giving up. So it's nasty. Like I don't like heat, man. I'm a fat boy, and like fat boys don't like heat, man. So
yeah, I feel you on that.
But I guess the other thing though, since we kind of talked about it in a previous episode, I did finally get somebody hired. So they start up here in a couple of weeks, but had a guy offered, he was on board, and then obviously he's like looked at the pay and the benefits, is like, peace out, I'm not doing that.
Thanks, but no thanks. Yeah.
Had another guy show up, literally like watched him do a hit in his car of crack and then walk in for his interview. And then like I was like, okay, I feel like I didn't see it, and then I'm like, oh, by the way, all this is contingent on a drug screening, and he's like, just shook his head, and he's like, I'm not interested, type thing. So I was like, yeah. So yeah. So I'm bringing on board we're talking about Green, so it's a young gal. She graduates. She's like 19. Like, yeah. So, but she was interview. She killed her interview and actually wrote a real resume with a cover letter. So I was like, hey, you got to prove it. I mean, let's do it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. So we'll see how it's gonna be kind of weird. We got a bunch of guys and bringing in this one gal, but we'll see what happens. So
no, I'm tracking, man. I understand.
But
everybody's got to be on their P's and Q's. You got to be careful what you say now. It's a thing.
Well, what's funny is I called HR and I'm like, my first question was like, do I need like porta potties out in the fields now? Because it's like we're 2.5 hours away from the place. Sometimes we're 40, 50 minutes away from a gas station. And he was like, well, no, I mean, just like, it's fine. Like, she can just do what you guys do and just drive to the gas station. I'm like,
buddy.
Yeah.
We ain't driving.
I'm like, no, we don't. I was like, we don't drive no gas station. He's like, what if you got to, drop a deuce? And I'm like, yeah, we should find a tree, bro. And he's like, no, you don't. I'm like, dude, there's places we're at. It's a 40-minute drive in the tractor to get from the field back to your pickup. And then you got 30 minutes. Like, we're not killing that time. And he was like, man, you guys need a raise. You need some hazard pay. And I'm like, yeah, like, we're not going to turn it down,
Yeah, man. Bean counters are something else, man.
Yeah.
There's something else. All they see is like data on a page. There's no real world application there whatsoever.
Yeah. No. So he's like, well, maybe we should like get one of those camping tents with a little bucket. And I'm like, whatever, man. Like whatever keeps it legal, we'll do. So
yeah, buddy. Oh my gosh. And then I think back, we were working when I was at the sheriff's office. We were working a pretty bad crash on the interstate, and they had everything shut down. And my South End partner and I had just went and ate barbecue at this restaurant in town in Perry, and he looks at me and he was like, "Dwat," he's like, "I'm in a mess, bro." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "We got the road shut down. We can't go." He's like, "I got to go to the bathroom." And so I was like, "Oh man, like I got this." We were waiting on records and everybody to clean everything up. And tow truck driver, I see him kind of step over the guardrail. Tow truck driver pulls up and goes, "Hey man, do you know there's a gun belt hanging off the rail back there?" He just struck out. Like it was just one of those things where like, we're in the middle of the interstate. You got to handle your business.
Yeah, Liz and I were coming over. I don't know. We're gonna have a story about pooping now. This is the pooping hour. But we were coming back over to Cherahalla. And she'd never been over it, right? She'd been up part way, but she'd never been to the very top in the North Carolina side. So we're coming back, and we pull off this one deal and look out, and we look out, and it's wide open, like you can see this great view. And she's like, "Oh man, it's beautiful." And right then I look down, and there's some biker in full like race gear with like just popping a squat, dropping a deuce right there. Like he looks back like literally just got done saying it's beautiful. We just turned around and walked off. Like,
man, that's hilarious.
There's no recovery from that, So
yeah. Look at God's creation, and then there's like somebody taking a Steve right there, like,
Power Ranger dropping a deuce. Yep. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. Oh golly.
All right. Well, let's changing directions from pooping stories.
Change gears.
All right. So we went back to the carnival game. And we pulled out some 13th Colony Double Oak First Edition. Is that correct?
Yeah. Can you see how dark it is? I don't know.
I mean, it's dark in this little 2-ounce bottle you sent me. Like, it looks like coffee in there.
Yeah. So 13th Colonies in Americus. I've been there a couple times. I met the assistant master distiller a couple times. They're really good people. So this is batch 1. There have been 2 releases, of course, batch 1, and then last year was batch 2. There's a little bit of kind of some like grumblings about 13th Colony. There is kind of a belief that they don't distill their own juice, that it's sourced. I've been to the distillery. I certainly saw the ricks. I've walked through the rick house. So I can't say whether they do or
Did
they
you
don't.
shake a barrel to see if there's anything in it?
I didn't, but so when I met the assistant master distiller the first time, we were talking about, the flavor and the color, because even their like bourbon and their rye is super dark. And he said that,
Even just their
they'll
regular
walk
corn
in.
mash whiskey's darker than you'd expect.
Yeah. And he said that it's being, they're in Americus, that's Southwest Georgia.
It's
They're
hot.
45 minutes south of us. They're in an old mattress factory. And he said that they'll walk in the mornings and the rick house will have just whiskey on the floor because it has come through the barrel and like gone outside, because the barrel is what gives it its color and its flavor. Well, it has moved through all the wood and it's just leaking.
Wow.
So he said a lot of times before they do anything in the morning, they'll go in, they'll walk the rick house, and then they'll like have to kind of repair the barrels so they don't lose their product.
So is that because it's so humid there, you think?
Yeah, they said that the average humidity down there, I think, was in like the mid 80s.
Yeah,
He said
America's
that's
is
their
terrible.
yearly average.
Yeah,
which is crazy, crazy. So
I went to 13 colonies. So Liz, taught in Americas for 2 years.
Okay.
At Furlough Charter School, and so we were down there, and I went through it, and they were pretty young then, because they also made don't they make like a gin or something like that too, or a vodka or something?
Yeah. So I think they started in 09, and they're like everybody else. They make other spirits because they got to sit on their whiskey till it gets old.
Yeah.
So they do like a vodka and a gin. Yeah, they do some other stuff.
Yeah. So, all right. So this double oaked, is it just? I mean, is all the double oaked 135.3, or is this like a cash strength double oaked, or?
No, this is definitely cash strength. They're not all. The batch 2 was not this high.
Okay.
This batch only produced, what was it? What was it? He told me, yeah. This batch only produced like 3,000 bottles. So it was super, super, rare. And a lot of people just didn't know what to expect. And so then like like YouTube and all these reviews came out, people started kind of losing their minds. So this was kind of done like normal bourbon, right? You got the white dog into the barrel. It stayed in there for, I think it says on here, 2 years, I think. And then they double oaked it into another set of barrels that had already held whiskey for 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And then inside all of that, they put some maple like swirls like in the liquid to kind of float around. Like Maker's Mark does that with like staves and stuff. So, yeah, it's bottle 492. Oh, I'm sorry, batch 492, bottle 1386. And for everybody in the SEC that doesn't live in Athens, it's 67.7% or 135.3. So pretty stout.
Pretty stout. I'm trying to think. I don't know how far their distribution is, because I used to see it in Georgia a lot. I don't think I've seen it here.
Yeah, it's growing. I get like an insider email, and it's like a couple times a month. Hey, distribution here, distribution here. So it's certainly growing on there, and good for them. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's Georgia grown. I don't think the grain's Georgia grown, but I mean it's a Georgia product. So
Yeah.
and I like them. They're nice people. So. Yeah. So let me give this a cork pop. This bottle's been open for a hot minute. I don't expect it to pop, but I'll give it a shot.
No.
Nothing?
No. Okay. So here's what I figured out, because like I can't really get a very good cork pop on this mic either. But when if I get the mics that I used to use for the other guys, the cheap mics, like it picks up the cork pop perfect. So I might have to get one of those mics out just for cork pops.
Yeah. Also, and certainly our listener can Google 13th Colony, but their bottle shape cool. I absolutely love.
Yeah.
It's in the vein of Old Forester birthday bourbon. It's that same kind of bottle shape. It's kind of funky to pour, just because you don't really know how to hold it. But I love the bottle. It's just different.
Man, this stuff is dark. It is.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, bro. Man, this stuff.
It's going in the nose.
Something else. I mean, for me, it is like sweet, dark chocolate. I mean, I smell like Nutella, like Oreo, like cookies and cream. I mean, I get like a little maple syrup.
I get a little, so I get like a cherry cordial, but if the chocolate was dark chocolate and not milk chocolate.
Okay.
Cause I get some dark fruit in
This
there.
nose
It's
is something.
sweet. It is, yeah.
It's something else, huh?
As I keep going back in, I also pick up a little. I'm trying to think what it is. I get something a little florally. I mean, a little, like it's floral's not the right word. It's like a. It's like woodsy, like
Okay. Like a tannin, like an oak tannin. Like, is it oak?
Yeah, I mean it could be, but I like it's like fresh though. Does that make sense? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Like walking into, I don't know. I mean, so like here, if there's a certain smell, like when you walk into the woods right after a rain, right, and the woods kind of
Yeah, like that like hydrogen smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I don't know. The nose to me is just flat out impressive. I mean, it's just something else.
It's very. There's a lot in there. I mean,
would you say it's complex?
Yes, it's complex. I think there's a little leather on the backside of it. A little. I mean, it is. It's like that. The sweetness, like that was there at the beginning. Now that I've kind of like pushed out of my head, like there's so much more there. It's like.
Yeah, and for me, for this to be 135 plus 135.3, I get almost no ethanol.
No, there's no ethanol in it at all.
Almost no ethanol. Now I gotta like jam my nose in the glass to really like get it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that dark chocolate's there.
It's just
the dark
super
chocolate's
chocolate.
there strong.
Yeah, super chocolatey. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's give it a go.
Right,
cheers.
Cheers.
Turn down for what? Hey, that's pretty good. Hey, that's pretty good.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Hold on, wrong pipe. Yeah, it's got sweetness, it's got spice. I mean, there's so much there. I'm having a hard time starting to break it down,
No, it's super full flavor. I mean, all the flavors that I get, they're not subtle. It's like like kick you in the shin, like it's 100%. I get kind of like some chocolate dark fruit, almost like a chocolate raspberry kind of thing, which I really like. I will say that although it is 135 proof, I expected it to be worse. I get it. It's proofy, but it's not. I mean, I've had some that were, the proof was lower and it was definitely more aggressive. So this is crushable.
I'm getting that dark chocolate, some sweet notes coming after it. I do get some leather. I get some earthy tones coming in behind that. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, there's a lot there, and it's like, I mean, I haven't taken a sip now for a few seconds, and like I'll lick the top of my mouth, and it's there.
It's still there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's super viscous. Yeah, and for me, that Kentucky, the finish is long. I'm still tasting some of it, but it's just a nice sweet oak note. I mean, it's very nice.
Yeah. So I
think you get any smoke or anything?
Go back in. Yeah, so I get that sweetness, that dark chocolate, little dark fruit right off the bat. And then the middle there, I don't know, I hang out, I get I get leather, and I get there's it's a little smoke, but I get a lot of leather, and then some cayenne with it, a little pepper.
Ooh.
Maybe more
Okay,
maybe
I can
more of a
see
black,
that.
maybe more of a black pepper than a cayenne pepper, but yeah, I get like
See
a
the
leather
chili flake kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah. And then like you said, you move into that finish, and it's like it's a sweet oaky. It's not an oak bomb, like it's not just drying me out and just that's all I get, but
Yeah.
it's there, right? And so it's kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
like it's if you. So I actually like to smoke meat with oak quite a bit,
Okay.
especially red meats. And it's that if you put, I don't know if you ever done like a sweet glaze on like a venison, put it in the smoker, and then just char the
Yeah.
crap out of the outside with some oak. That's what it reminds me of,
Yeah.
on the finish. So, yeah, there's a lot there.
That's
I mean,
legit.
I think I could keep going back into this, and probably my analysis will change the more I sip on it, right?
Sure.
Because
and that's just a
full.
sign of like just how complex it is. Yeah, it's not very one and done where you keep going back and you get the same thing. I mean, every time I've gone back, I've got something different, which just is a testament to the guys who distilled this and produced it, and really just the final product, because it's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's very, very good. It is.
Well, good. And I'm glad you love it, because I sent you 2 of these because I knew this was special. So
yeah,
there's one already gone.
There is.
There's one already gone.
There's one already gone.
Okay. That's fine. It's good. I'm just glad you love it. That was the whole point.
I actually had it. So I opened it and smelled it, right? Because there was 2 in there and you told me about it. And I smelled it, and so I paired it. I had a Rome, like an acid Rome cigar sitting here.
Yeah.
And I paired it with that.
Yeah.
Phenomenal pairing.
Really?
Yes, because the Rome is very velvety and sweet and just like over the top sweet, and it brought out the more leathery back tones of this, because you've already he's got the sweetness from the Rome, and so yeah, it was good. It was okay. Before I gotta ask you, when are you gonna smoke that dragon's milk?
It's still in my humidor,
dude. How long have you had that thing? Like, is there a date on it? I don't even remember how long ago I gave that to you.
Yeah. So to give the listener some context, Aaron bought a box of these Dragon's Milk, which makes beer, cigar.
Yeah,
they
by
were
Asylum.
Churchill's.
Yep.
By Asylum, and the tobacco was aged in these Dragon Milk Stout barrels. Okay. Aaron buys a box. He sends one my way via his brother Nate. And when Nate hands it to me, Nate and I were on shift together. Nate hands it to me.
This is before you and I had ever met in real life, like long before that.
Yes. So, I mean, this could be 10 years. It is easy. It could be 10 years easy. Okay. Nate hands it to me and goes, "Be careful when you smoke this." He said, "Make sure you eat a steak and you drink a stout." And I was like, "What are you talking about, Nate?" Nate was working night shift. I was working days. We weren't on the same shift. We were relieving each other. He said, I'll never forget this. He said, "Well, I got up at noon and smoked this on an empty stomach with a cup of coffee and threw up in my yard." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world?" He was like, "It was fantastic." He goes, "But I threw up in the corner of my yard." So with that being said, it's just been in my humidor for, like I said, probably going on 10 years, easy.
Yeah.
So one day.
Yeah.
One day.
It's going to be mellower by now, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Good. All right. You ready? Let's talk score.
Ooh.
I'm interested to see,
man,
where you're at on this.
It's going to happen, bro. I'm breaking 90.
Is this it? Really?
Yes. I'm going 91.
Oh, man.
Actually, I'm going to go 91 and a half. 91.5, man.
Really?
Like, so, dude, like it's up getting close to the Coy Hill territory.
Okay, good.
I mean, there's a lot there.
It's legit.
It's viscous. It's legit. I mean, it's like so there's bourbons that you taste that taste good, and then there's bourbons you taste that taste good, and you know they're special, right? And that's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is special.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 91.5, and like the only reason I'm not going higher is because I don't know how. Like I got to leave myself room for.
You got to leave a little ceiling. I get that.
Yeah, and
so sure, I get that.
But I've never broken, 90 before. So yeah. If you see it,
that's awesome.
Buy it. Like I don't know. We'll get into the price later, right? So
we'll get to that. Spoiler alert. We'll get to that.
So what's your score?
So yeah, I agree. This and one of the first bookers I ever had was when I realized like there's levels to bourbon. Like not every $50 bottle is the same, but when you start to kind of like pay a little bit more, it's when I really truly understand it when I understood like complexity, right? This is super special. I hang on to it. I'll offer it to anybody who wants to come in and try it because it is so special. It is so good. I will give anybody, like I said, anybody who comes over who's a whiskey guy who's like, holy crap, I've always wanted to try that. Boom, let's bust out a glass. Let's try some because it is so good. So with all that being said,
it's not a value bottle.
I'm at a 90. I'm at a 90. Okay. That's my score. So we can talk acquiring. So the first sip I had of this was not out of my bottle. It was at a cigar event, and it was terrible. Okay. Terrible to the point where I walked by 5 or 6 of these and passed on them because it was so acrid. It was just terrible. Well, come to find out, the bottle that we had, that the guy had brought, had been corked. So it wasn't sealed. Air had gotten into it and just ruined it. So I bought my bottle on a last minute, like, they can't all be that bad. You want to guess, or you want me to tell you what I paid for it?
Before we do that, we got to say, what would you pay for it, right? Like that's what, because
okay, yeah, because this is over 60, yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay.
So we got to, what would you pay for it? So I'd go off the rip. I mean, tasting it, and now again, I'm cheap, right? So I don't like to spend money, and that's going to move into our topic today. But I'd put out $200 for it. Something special. Put on, like you said, put it up on the shelf. Don't really, My problem is it's so good. I'd want to drink. Like it wouldn't last very long. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's
it wouldn't. Yeah, no, I get that.
So, but if I had like some true, if like let's say I had a group of guys or some people coming over, we're gonna do a cigar and bourbon night, and like it's a special night. We're celebrating something, into harvest, whatever. Yeah, $200 to pass this, let people try it stuff. Yeah, I no problem.
Yeah. So the first batch.
Hold on. What would you
paid 80?
What would you pay?
I paid $80 for this. Well, I would pay a lot more, but I know what I paid. Like this wasn't a gift. I bought this. This was $80.
Jeez.
So, yeah. They went on to the secondary market. For 600.
Ooh,
yeah, because limited distribution, limited bottles, whatever. The second batch, 13th Colony, had a little bit bigger return, and those were 180 a piece. I could not get a second batch. I couldn't find one, so this is all I got. I think this is worth every bit of $200. Absolutely. Yeah. Now look, I'm with you. I don't want to pay that.
Yeah.
I want to pay $25 for it.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But yeah, it's something else.
Because $600, I mean, so now here's the question for you, right? We've talked about the Coy Hill. You got $600 in your pocket. You walk into the place and you have your choice of buying this for $600 or the Coy Hill for $600. What are you doing?
I'm buying Coy Hill only because it was the one that you and I had was hazmat. and just hazmat whiskey is just really rare.
Yeah.
And when we say hazmat, we mean it's over 140 proof. They call it hazmat because you can't fly with it, because it's 70+% alcohol. It could combust. So that's what we mean. We say hazmat. It's super rare to get something that hot. So that would be the only reason why. It's just because it's hazmat.
This is good though. This is very good.
Good, man. I'm so glad you like it.
Yeah, it's very, very
so glad. I hate now everything else you try. You're gonna be like, this is dog water, man. Like,
why'd you send me this?
This little 3-year-old Colorado whiskey. This is trash.
Dude, you know what's funny though is like, I think, and though you have to like remember, that's the thing is stuff that's special. Like you don't have very often, right? And so, or you can't. Yeah. It's the same thing with cigars, and so like you get into this, you never have it enough to your palate to adjust to being that's what you assume is normal, right?
Right.
And so I think that's why good bottles need to be partaken with people, with friends. So we, make it an experience. You're with your friends, you're with your buddies, you're enjoying this something special. Make it a moment. Like the neat thing says, like they're here now, right? Like they're here now. So let's do it. As opposed to just hoarding it for yourself, and then that becomes your palate adjusts up to that, and then you can no longer and then someone brings you a bottle of 1920 and you're like, this is garbage bourbon, like so. But yeah.
Yep.
So I mean it's, to me it makes sense of why good bourbon is to be celebrated with people.
Yeah. There was one bottle that I had that was off limits that my dad gave me. It was a bottle, and I sent you some. I've talked about it before. It was a bottle of 18-year-old Wild Turkey. Or 17. It was the oldest bottled Wild Turkey at the time, and I saved that for when I made Sergeant. I called that my Sergeant whiskey, and when I made Sergeant, that's when I would open it. And so I did. But everything else that I had at the time and everything that I have now, so, man, whatever. If somebody comes along and they're like, "Hey, I really been wanting to try this," boom, let's bust that out. Let's try it.
You didn't have a Chief bottle waiting for you for when you became Chief?
No. What did I? No, I didn't. No, when I got the Chief position, I did not get a Chief bottle. I was hoping it was going to be some Pappy Van Winkle sitting in the, sitting on the counter, but I'd be aggravated if Ashley bought that.
Yeah.
As much as I want to try it and have it and share with my friends like you and my brother-in-law and Nate, like I'd still be aggravated.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody can give that to me.
Because I know what they cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
All right.
All right, man. Well.
What's the topic?
Again, we've kind of shown our hand a little bit, but we're going to talk about simplicity. Again, it was not simple to get here these last couple of weeks, so we apologize to our sole listener. But yeah, simplicity, man. I think this is just huge when it comes to like spiritual disciplines, and I think it's something as culture and technology has evolved has become more and more difficult. I can speak firsthand on my end, living a simple life has been tough for me. Just because, growing up, not that we were like super poor, but we were a single family income. My dad didn't work. He got hurt. He had this big like workman's comp case. So my mom was the sole provider, and, they did the best they could, but we just didn't have a lot. And so when I got older and started making my own money, I wanted like all of the shiny things that I didn't get to have when I was younger.
Like Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah. Yeah. Or dial up or like DSL, like, I mean, when I'd come home from college and really even into Ashley and I's engagement, my parents still had dial up internet.
Ugh.
Like they just couldn't afford, high speed. So I'd go to college and, play Grand Theft Auto and do all the cool things on the super fast internet. And then I'd come home and like we're, 56K dialing through AOL. So, this is something I struggle with big time. But, simplicity, I put a couple of definitions in here, a thing that is plain, natural, or easy to understand. And the one that really I'm working on in my own life right now is an inward reality that results in an outward lifestyle. And that's what, I'm trying to figure out is what does a simple life look like? Like I tell I tell Ashley all the time, like, I'm a simple man, she's like, what do you want for Father's Day? And I was like, I'm simple. Like, just, I'm sure you know what I want. And
Bourbon.
she rolls her eyes.
Yeah.
And then she rolls her eyes. Yeah. So, trying to figure out what simplicity looks like within this just kind of where we are living in time. It's not easy, there's always flashy stuff and I like nice things. So it's tough for me. What about you?
So I the wrestling point on it, I guess, is more of like, it's coming to the understand that it's not wrong to enjoy the blessings that God gives us, but not to make prosperity and wealth and things our motivation of why we serve God, right? So like anti-prosperity gospel, especially for like, and like, so my wife, like, she grew up Mennonite, right? So you can't have any of these things ever, and that's wrong. Like it's okay to play a video game. It's okay to have a TV, like to enjoy these things. So finding that balance, right? And so where's that balance lie? And I think the simple life, and we'll get into it though, is just the ability that your motivation and reliance is solely on God, and you build your life in a way that you can move as He would have you move. Whether that means literally moving, like getting up and leaving the state and going somewhere else, or just in your life being able to give as He's called you to give, and that kind of stuff, as far as like financially or whatever. But I also think too that, like it's God's kind of bringing us back to it. Just, with the way things are, like, it's hard. People are more and more people are getting to the point where, like, we're a single income household, we made the decision to homeschool and stuff. And so, but you lose half of the income into the home. It's a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle change.
That's right.
And so, but being there is like, to the understanding of He's gonna get you, He's got you, and we have a responsibility to work and stuff. But yeah, so where do you draw the line of, it's okay for me to have this and I just want this, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so, and that takes discernment to know of you cross the line from, I want all the things, to, okay, this is not really a need, this is a want, but God's telling me it's okay to have it,
Yeah. No, I agree. And and that's what makes it tough. I think that the objective behind simplicity is truly just to be content and to be grateful for what God's provisions, or what God's blessed you with, and that's really where if I've said this to Ashley once, I've said it in the last 6 months. Like I said, this is something I'm really trying to, like, work hard on, is like, we just have so much to be thankful for, as our girls get older. We think back to us meeting at Andrew College down in Cuthbert, and thinking about the places that we've moved, although we hadn't moved as much as you and Liz, we have moved, and thinking about, some of the jobs and the bosses that we worked for, and some who were fantastic and some who were terrible. And, as we come into our 40s, the next 10 years, it's really just caused me to really truly pause and look back and just be thankful and just be content. Like, I look at these people who, I guess, maybe socially, or maybe a social rung higher on the ladder than we are. And I think it would be easier to look at them and go, well, I want to be where they are. Like, I want to hang out with who they want to hang out with. And then I think to myself, like, I'm the people that are in my life, like, I'm there for a reason, and they're there for a reason. Like, and it causes me to just push pause and go, like, I'm thankful for my friends. Like, I have friends that, I could call and go, hey man, like, can you come help me hang this TV? Like, hey, can you come help me? Like, Camie's car broke down. Do you got a trailer I can borrow? Like those are the friends. Like, that's what you need to be thankful for. And so that's really where I've really, really tried to just be content and be grateful.
Yeah, I think too, something I don't know, this might veer a little bit off the subject, but something that we've been kind of noticing, like the area we live is pretty blue collar and it's pretty poor, right? And so, which is great because God's making us that way too, so we fit right in. But but
you're an agent.
Yeah, but what I've noticed is like, so even like at football practice, right? Like, so the coaching staff we got for Canaan's football team, on appearance level, it's a rougher crowd. You know what I mean? They're not showing up in well dressed. Their language is a little rougher.
Right.
And it's just it is what it is. But and we were talking like, is this the kind of like environment we want our kids around? You know what I mean? Type thing. Like and so we started talking, and then I'm like, but you know what? Like, they're the ones volunteering their time. Like, they're here for the kid, not me. Yeah. And you start looking like they're the ones that, someone's like, oh, I got this going on. Oh yeah, I'll come help you out. No big deal. Right. And so I was like, and so, but to me, like, it's reminding me of the simple life or whatever is not so much a set boundaries of this is how much stuff you can have, and this is, what you're allowed to spend on fun. This is what you're allowed to spend on entertainment. This is what you're allowed to spend on your house. But it's the reminding that the important things are God and people, right? And so how do you utilize the money, the time that you have. If you do the simple life or simplicity is to do it correctly, that you are doing it not for you, but for God, and so, and just like kind of looking at that, so how we interact with the community and it's really easy because we live in a world of, like you said, of consumerism, materialism, and keeping up with the Joneses. And so, like if someone doesn't have as much as me, like if I've got more stuff than they've got, I got better stuff, I dress better, I carry myself better, I'm better than them. But that's not the heart of God, and that's such a
wrong assumption too.
Yeah. But that's what the world teaches us, right? Yeah. And so, I don't know. It's something that God's been really kind of working on me is to get past, just because someone might be like a better word, a have-not, it doesn't mean they're not living correctly for God. You know what I mean? Like like I probably had just enough prosperity gospel preached into me over the years that my assumption was if you're poor, it's because you ain't living right. There's a lot of people who are living right and living correctly for God who are still poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because they're not making the money their number one goal. They're okay just getting by because that leaves them as long as they're being a good neighbor and a follower of Christ. Yeah. So
and again, talk about making assumptions of people, like who's to say they're not content where they are?
Yeah.
Like who's to say, like currently the house that Ashley and I live in is the nicest house I've ever lived in my entire life. Okay. So to kind of frame that on someone else, like who's to say that the house they're living in isn't the nicest house they've ever lived in? So like, I think it's just it's a slippery slope when we start assuming like people's contentment level and people's happiness, and that sort of thing. Like maybe that they're honoring God with what they do and where they live. And like, so I think like contentment is a blessing. I think that's one of those things where like it just, because everything is so material and status based, and there's this constant pursuit of materialism and status and social status, that, it's hard for us to just press pause and go, man, like I'm really happy where I'm at.
Yeah. And
and just take a minute and identify the emotion of like, I'm just happy. Like I'm just thankful and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I think that will help in the simplifying, trying to work on simplicity. That's what I'm trying to say.
And it's not easy because we have so much, outward force in us. Like, I mean, not that long ago, we did a podcast I told the story about how like God basically opened up this home for us to move into it in crazy ways, right? When we moved here.
Yep.
And now, and as of late, our attitude's been like, we can't afford to get this, like to get the lighting done in the kitchen the way we want it. We can't afford, we got to, like, we can't stand the way the flooring looks in the basement. We want to get it redone. And like, man, 3 months ago, we were just happy to have a house. And now we're complaining. Like,
thankful for a roof over your head.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so we get caught into this.
Yeah.
And like Liz even said too, like she said that, like, something that God's been working with her is just that one of our prayers was that our home would always be a home of hospitality, right? That we'd invite, like, we would be a place that people gather and people would come and feel at home, and it'd be a place that just was open to people, right? Like, we like to host. That's what we wanted. And God's, yeah. And I'm like, nobody's coming over. And Liz's like, we're not inviting anybody. And then the reason we weren't inviting anybody is because we don't have everything just the way we want it yet. Like, what if somebody come over and sees our basement's like only half finished and judges us, right? And then finally, like, God was like, no, like, your house doesn't have to be perfect. Like, people aren't coming because of your stuff. Like, if you're hospitable, people are coming to see you. Like,
Yeah.
And so, like, that's been, we got to, like, change that focus of, again, like, keeping up with the Joneses to doing as God would have us do. Sorry, we're totally hijacking your deal here, but
no. You're not hijacking anything, because it falls in line of prioritizing your relationships and the values that you hold and the behavior the way you act that honors God, right? And those experiences with your family over material wealth. I hate to travel. I grew up a homebody. Ashley grew up the exact opposite way. They'd wake up on a Saturday, flip a coin, and just start driving until they got tired, and they'd go see a new city, right? We grew up very differently in that regard. I hate to travel. My favorite trip in the world that we've ever taken, we took 2 years ago. We went to Texas. We flew into San Antonio. We drove north up to Dallas over the course of like 4 or 5 days. It was fantastic. I have such incredible memories of that trip, right? And so it comes down to, instead of worrying about like material things, again, it comes back to relationships, being salt of the earth with God's children, the values that you uphold, the example that you live, and then again, those experiences with your friends and your family, that kind of stuff. So it's not hijacking anything. It's right in line with, trying to live a simpler life. I think some of that, is on us to lead the family in, is this a need or a want? And I have that conversation with my girls all the time. We live a stone's throw from Buc-ee's here in Central Georgia. And every night they're like, hey, Daddy, can we go to Buc-ee's? Like, we don't need Buc-ee's. No, but we want Buc-ee's.
Yeah, we want Buc-ee's.
So, girls, there's a difference there, right? There's a difference. So I think some of that, I think being mindful of what you consume, whether it's, media or kind of whatever it is you take in. And then, and when I wrote this several weeks ago, it made sense in my mind, but it's kind of a broad stroke. I put unnecessary purchases. Listen, you can look over my shoulder. There's a cabinet full of unnecessary purchases, right? But I to kind of narrow that thought in a little bit, it's one of those things where, are you going to buy something because you need it and it's useful? Are you buying it because you want somebody to walk in and go, oh man, you got this thing. I've been looking at this thing on my Instagram feed, right? So that was kind of my narrowing of that, because I understood that was a broad stroke.
Yeah. Let's you got some verses here. Let's go ahead and get those thrown in. Like, I think, because it's always important to have scripture to back up what we're saying. So let's just go ahead and read through those, and then we'll jump right back into your last statement there.
Sure. Yeah. So I wrote in 3, Matthew 6, chapter 6, 19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. Luke 12:15. He said to them, watch out and guard yourselves against every form of greed, for not even when one has an overflowing abundance does his life consist of, nor is it derived from his possessions. And the last one's 1 Timothy 6 through 8. But godliness actually is a source of great gain when accompanied by contentment. For we have brought nothing into the world, so we cannot take anything out of it either. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. So that was kind of the basis of, the simplicity stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's good is to, like, if we are content with the needs being met, right? God gives us a lot of our wants. And I'm not getting into prosperity gospel, like he wants you to be super rich and all that, but he's a loving father, right? And so just as when we look down at our kids, and we feed them, we clothe them, we have a roof over their head, like that's the minimum we do as fathers, right? Like we're to do this, and I mean that as fathers, like, so it's not your wife's job to do that; it's your job, unless there's super crazy circumstances, like you said, like like you're disabled or whatever. But we also, like, we still want to give our kids Christmas presents, right? Christmas presents.
Yeah.
I mean, there are years where clothing is what they get for Christmas because that's all you can do, and they need clothes. But there's also, but the goal is to give them something fun, right? And I think the father's the same way. And so, but I think the thing that becomes is, if you were to, I've got a lot of hobbies. I like video gaming. I like shooting, all this stuff. But if you're like Aaron, you can only do one hobby outside of work. Like, you have to work, be a husband, be a father, and you get one hobby, and then everything else you have to get rid of. Because, like, if God told me that, he's like, choose one. If you do motorcycle riding, like, motorcycle riding is my favorite. Like, if I could do anything all day long, it's going to be ride motorcycles, right? And so, God has granted me, like, I've got two bikes. One my dad gave me and one I bought, but they're old. They're both old and stuff. And so, and I think that God's, as long as I honor him and be content with, hey, it's okay that my bike's 20 years old. My other bike's my other bike's the same age I am, and it still runs. So that's pretty amazing because I don't run anymore.
Right.
But as opposed to being the man, I was like, it's like I got these old bikes. Every time I ride them, I'm a little bit worried they're going to fall apart. It'd be so nice just to have a brand new motorcycle. Blah 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 blah. And I think that's where it can switch from understanding that the wants are a blessing to become an idol of, I've got to have the best, I've got to have the fastest, I've got to have this, because it's not that I enjoy motorcycle riding. It's I want people to be like, ooh, look at that guy, like, look at his bike, Not about you, because
that's definitely the wrong motivation.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I like to go out and try to drag a knee across the ground, so and so I don't want to. We're like, it's very important to do that. We don't put the burden of, like, an extra burden upon somebody who's like, man, well, I've got nice stuff. Am I sinning? Well, no. Like, God, like, we're all in different economic statuses, but is having stuff where your heart is that your heart?
Yeah.
And I think that when we look at these verses, it's we have to be that's what I kind of saying. And even look at Solomon, right? So Solomon is the richest king to have ever inhabited the world, ever. I mean, ever. And so, like, God's like, I'll give you one thing. He's like, yeah, I want wisdom. Like, give me wisdom. And God's like, okay, well, because you asked for something good, I'm going to give you all this other stuff too. Like, you're going to have all the wealth of the land. And he did. And so obviously God doesn't hate wealth, but that should never be our motivation for following after God, or what it takes for us to be content is that we have these things. Our contentment should come from the fact that we have promise of eternity in Christ. Period. That's it. Yep. And so if God's like, you know what, Aaron, from now on, the only thing you get to eat is cicadas. Well, it's not my favorite dish, but whatever, God. Yeah. I guess I'll just see you sooner because I'm going to die from starvation. But, but I think that's the thing too, is like, I don't want it to sound like we're poo-pooing having nice things. It's the pursuit of nice things that is wrong. Does that make sense? Am I being clear on that? Or?
Oh, I'm tracking. Absolutely. And I think some of that, that's our responsibility to set boundaries, as the leader of the household, to be able to say no. And to be able to say no to our own, kind of impulsive decisions. Setting priorities. Hey, look, I'd really like to get these floors done. So we need to be careful. I know you want to go on vacation, so we need to be really mindful. Like I think that's our priority. That's something that we're supposed to do, and that keeps us from being overcommitted, right? Burnout. And then because if you're those two things, then you're not doing what that's not God's will for your life, is to be overcommitted and burn out. So, like you said, having a leisure activity, Sabbath rest is obviously huge. And then, to kind of throw back to another topic, just having some solitude, I think those are things that will increase the simplicity in your life. So when Ashley and I got married, a guy gave me a book. It was about being the head of the household. And inside the flap of this book, he wrote 9 things that he had learned in his life that contributed to him being a simple man and being the head of the household. So I'm going to read them off to you, and then you just kind of give me your thoughts, okay? Because I've kind of used these as tenants. Now, I haven't always hit the mark on them, but so the first one was, and I've kind of paraphrased these because they were a little longer in the book, but buy things for their usefulness rather than their status.
Oh, you want me to wait?
Pretty simple.
Do one at a time? Okay.
Yeah, no. We'll just hit them one at a time. Yeah. Just kind of give me your thought.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I agree with that. And what I say is, like, I'm gonna even utilize a purely worthless purchase. Right? That's a bad word. It's still useful. Okay. It's worthless, but it's useful. So, you and I are both gamers, right?
Yep.
We both play on the Series X. We got the same console. And so is a Series X a need?
No.
It's close, but not quite, right? It's just a want. But did you what's your number one reason for playing Xbox? I'm just going to ask you.
It's like leisure. It's what I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy getting on there with you and Nate and some other folks, and just it's leisure for me.
So to be honest with you, like 90% of the time, if I fire up the Xbox and nobody's online that I play with, I turn it back off.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah,
it's a social thing then. It's a social thing for you.
Yeah. Now, there are times like right now, like where there's a game I've got 10 years invested in, the storyline's moving. I'm playing it just for the storyline, right? Or certain games come across, like Mass Effect, that's a single player game, but the story's so good I get caught in the story, so it's a leisure activity.
Yeah.
But it's what I mean by that is it's useful, right? Now it's still a want. I mean, it's not a need; it's a want. And so, is it take priority over food or clothing or housing or no?
Not at all.
But I don't think I'm not buying it just to stick it up on my shelf and be like, yeah, see that? That's the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
I got
one. I'll just confess a little bit here to you and the viewer. So, I got this Xbox Series X a couple years ago when they rolled out at Christmas. Was not expecting it. Our pastor at the time had an extra one. He gave Ashley his pre-order. And so Christmas Day we were working day shift, and I took a picture I also got a bottle opener that was the Infinity Gauntlet. And so I sat it on the Xbox Series X box on my lap and took a picture with it focused in, with the aperture focused on the bottle opener. And then in the back, you could just very softly read like Xbox Series X.
Yeah, I remember that picture. I remember that picture.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I sent it to you.
Yes, you did, because my response was, cool bottle opener. I like the box in the background too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a status picture, but that wasn't my intent. So
I'm trying to think, what was there? There was another one that I did, and they got so mad. Was it when I got my Xbox?
Yeah, because didn't you get yours before him?
Yes.
Because he couldn't find one, right?
Yeah, and I did the whole online thing. And
your controller.
That's what it was. Is the Elite controller. Yeah, so it got a new controller, and in the background was the Xbox Series X, and he goes so mad, and he said it like because you remember you called me, and you're like, dude, your brother's so mad.
Yeah. And the funny part is it put him in a different stratosphere. So, they have bots that'll comb these websites, then, kind of like pre-order stuff for you. It's like, it's not a good system, but it's just the system that we're in. So he found a bot on Twitter. He told me this. He found a bot on Twitter that every time an Xbox Series X would drop at Walmart, Target, or Best Buy, he would notify him immediately. And that's how he ended up getting one.
So funny. Anyway, so we're moving away from the simple life to
I know it's all right. Okay, so the second one is reject anything that produces addiction.
So I would say this would be personal addiction, right? And so what I mean by that is just because something's addicting to you doesn't mean it's addicting to me.
That's right.
So some people need to reject any type of technology usage because they're addicted to their phones or whatever. Some people it's alcohol, some people it's tobacco, some people it's crack. Yeah. So we should probably all reject crack. But yeah, other than that, I think that we should. If it's something that we know is going to take over control of us, we got to give it up.
Sure. Yeah, and that's going to look different. Exactly like you said, it's going to look different for everybody. If somebody's struggling with alcoholism, A, they're probably not listening to our podcast, and B, like they're not buying whiskey, right? They're not buying alcohol. If they have, if they struggle with like impulsive decisions, then, they probably don't have a credit card so that they can only spend the money that they have, right? So it's definitely, it's kind of very case by case basis on that. Develop a habit of giving things away.
Now, I think this one's huge. Okay. What I mean by that is even, and it's actually something Liz and I've had a lot of discussions of over the years, is we'll have something that we don't want anymore, or don't have, or just don't need, or whatever. Like we'll, every time we move, you kind of purge what you've got. And so we'll look at, hey, I need to get rid of this. And instead of like, hey, let's put it up for sale so we get money. No, just give it away. I mean, like we've already got it. And so obviously we're okay, and so just give it away, and we've done that with everything from like we moved here. We couldn't like, we had some beef left in our freezer. Like we always bought, half a beef a year or a whole cow, whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, we can't take them with us. And she said, well, let's just give it away. So we just built bags of beef and gave it to people, So, I think that giving things, like getting to the point where you can give things away is a good thing. Now, I don't mean that if you ever sell anything, you're being wrong. I don't want to come across that way, because sometimes maybe you have not lived a simple life and you've over collected things and now you're financially broke because of it. And so guys, just have a garage sale and use that money to pay off debt. Yeah. Have a garage sale and pay off debt. Right. Like, so, I don't want to come across that way, but I think that, if your idea is I need to sell this so I can buy something better, no, just give it away,
Yeah, I agree. I love giving stuff away. I know that might sound weird, but like, I just do. I like, I don't know. I like seeing other people happy, and I like them. I like being able to be a blessing to somebody. Essentially, is kind of at its most simple form. So
football and Christmas, man, it's better to give than receive.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Refuse modern gadgetry propaganda.
Yes, you don't need everything. You don't need the newest iPhone. You don't need the newest, Apple Watch. You don't need
iPad. Yeah.
You probably don't need anything Apple, to be honest with you, because they're crap.
Easy now.
Not just kidding, but it's all crap. Doesn't matter what brand it is.
It is. And we just paid off our phones and like
slow down, didn't they?
Getting email. Oh yeah,
dude. It's yes, same thing. Like so, unreal. Liz has an iPhone. I've got a Pixel phone, right? So we've got both major guys, and literally as soon as we were eligible for upgrade, both of them have slowed down and started having all kinds of issues. Anyways,
yeah, Ashley's phone. We went to the Braves game last night, and like she charged her phone, took it off the charger. Like we're walking into Truist, and her phone is like scalding hot. Because and we have no idea why. It wasn't like the screen was on bright. It just I don't know. Yeah. So and for me, like I love gadgets. I like tech. So this is definitely something that I have gotten to a good place on, that I, don't feel like I need the newest shiniest thing when it comes to technology. But yeah, this was a good tenant for me on that. Learn to enjoy things without owning them.
Yeah, I think here would be what you're meaning by that is like it's okay to I think maybe I'd change the words of that to learn to enjoy things without coveting them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you go to somebody's house, they've got a cool toy, you check it out, it's fun. Be like, hey man, that's really cool. That's a cool experience. Thanks for letting me experience it, as opposed to coveting and being like, now I have to have it.
Yeah, I gotta have it. Yep.
Yeah, and so or being upset that they have it and you don't. So I think I would change the wording of that to learn to enjoy things without coveting them.
Yeah, and I do think, because he and I have talked about these in the past, that's the spirit behind it. Is that be able to enjoy someone else's blessing and be thankful that they're willing to invite you to their lake house so that you can and your kids can go swimming. But it doesn't mean that you got to run out and put yourself in financial stress to go get a lake house, right? So, yeah, I think that's the spirit behind it. Yeah, absolutely. Develop a deeper appreciation for creation.
So, yeah, I do think that this is multifaceted, and so I think that going out and walking through the woods is free. Go do it. Right. Yep. So, but the other thing too is creation was all created to glorify God. Inventions were all created to glorify man. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think for us, it's not wrong to, like I said, to have a TV and that kind of stuff, but we need to go out and appreciate what God has created. One, it glorifies Him, but this world that we live in, He's created it beautiful for us to enjoy. And so it kind of recenters that. And yeah, not to sound too hippy dippy, but I do think that we need to be grounded in creation, and not in our own invention. So,
as my kids say, go touch grass.
Go touch grass. That's right. That's right.
No, I agree with everything you said. I think it allows you to kind of recenter yourself again. If Uncle Aaron's cheap, kids, so he sees them. Going outside is free, but there's more. I mean, I agree. I mean, yeah, sure, it's free, but it allows you to just kind of see the big picture and go, wow, like there are just a lot of beautiful things around here that it created, and all this, like the rocks cry out. Like all of this was created to honor the Lord. So yeah, I agree.
All right, what's next?
Be skeptical of buy now, pay later.
Yeah, so I would say be very, that's what I'm looking for, disciplined and discerning of buy now, pay later. Because if buy now, pay later is because you want things for their status rather than their usefulness, right? Is one thing. But I do also think too, like, so this gets hard. I don't think it's ever bad to use credit. I don't think that credit's a bad thing.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I personally didn't pay cash for my house. So
that's right.
And honestly, I didn't pay cash for my sectional that I have upstairs. So I think we need discernment, because there's times that God utilizes the financials system we have in America to help us out, and there's other times that Satan uses it as a crutch or a trap, and so we don't need to. That's a bad thing. All right, let's start that back. That's a bad thing, but we do live in a society where debt is a must. I mean, I don't. How else do you buy a house? I mean, I don't know anybody. So I do think that we need to work as hard as we can to not to underutilize debt as much as possible. So outside of buying a house, my goal is in the next 5 years to be 100% debt free, other than the house. Granted, like some stuff, we just took on another huge chunk of medical debt, right? So, is the answer to just not fix my wife's arm, or do I accept the buy now, pay later? Right. So I would not draw a hard line on this, but I do think that we need to make sure that we are utilizing it hyper discernment, right? If you're buying tennis shoes on credit, probably not the best thing to do.
That's a problem.
Yeah, if you're buying. I would even go as far as to say buying TV, stereo, that kind of stuff on credit is an issue.
And that's the spirit behind it. That's exactly right. You gave it a lot of context, but you need discernment, in making these purchases, and you're going to seek wise counsel. But yes, absolutely. That's the spirit behind it. Is that some of it is just accepted, but some of it is unnecessary. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The next one, obey Jesus' instructions about plain, honest speech.
So now that's when we're going into a whole, we've really just been harping on the financial side of simple life, right? There's a lot of other facets to it. I think this is one here it goes back to when Jesus talks about you had the Pharisee and the beggar or whatever, coming, and the one guy's beating his chest saying I'm not woe is me, I'm not worthy. And then the Pharisee is at least I'm not as bad as this guy. So I think that the instruction on that is that we're just real people, and we're not trying to impress anybody with the way we talk. We're not trying to impress anybody with the way we pray. We're not trying to look bigger than we are. That we are. We're just real people, and we're honest before the Lord, and we're honest before each other. And again, and you start getting into all these different caveats and stuff. And so does that mean that so obviously when I'm before the ownership board, my demeanor and I'm a little more tactful in my verbiage than I am to my buddies. But in neither situation am I trying to be look how great I am. I'm so good. Right. I'm so awesome. It's more of just decorum, right? So let's not. Yeah. Let's look at But again, and honestly, when you are before a board of leadership at your job or your church or whatever, are you trying to look really cool for yourself, or are you trying to look really cool and give glory to God?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. When I always think about this verse, it always comes to Matthew 5:37. Simply let your yes be yes and your no be no. Yep. I think that's really the spirit of this, is that, because, there's character and there's integrity in that. You're a man or a woman, you're a person of your word, right? I think that it also comes to relationships, that, you don't have to sugarcoat stuff, but you can, again, like you said, you can kind of soften it a little bit. But, if someone hurt your feelings, or someone did something that you felt like they betrayed your trust, instead of trying to dance around it, you can just very simply and, speak the truth. And so I think that's, there's just a lot to be there, and that will carry you your whole life, just let your yes be yes and your no be no. So. All right. Last one on the list is shun anything that distracts you from seeking God's kingdom first.
Yeah, I think it basically just covers the entire list, right?
Yeah, this is the broad stroke.
Yeah.
But in case he missed anything, This is the catch-all. There's always a catch-all, and this is it.
And this is it. So yeah, I mean, that's in anything in life, anything that distracts you from seeking God's kingdom first, right? So whether it's, I mean, that could be your job, it could be any type of media, anything. So yeah, obviously, because if it distracts you from seeking God's kingdom first, it's called a what? An idol.
That's right.
And God says, you know, don't have any idols. So yeah, that one's kind of a duh.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. Right. Well, we that's all I got. But I wanted to put those in there because I wanted to bounce them off of you.
I think that's good. I think that kind of wrapping it up here, it is hard in our culture to live the simple life, right? It goes against what we as Americans have been taught, the lifestyle we live. Yep. I think the hardest part is the fact that we have lived in a culture like we are. So, God's removing these, you know. So, whether you call it wrath or you call it mercy, depending on, because He is drawing people back to Him. But we're the only nation ever to have a truly robust middle class, you know, and not just a bunch of has and have-nots. And if you start looking at stuff too, like, I mean, look at how the Chinese and how they stay in power, like the CCP stays in power, is they give their people just enough stuff to feel okay, right? Just enough comfort. And so I think that if our goal is ever comfort, if our goal is ever to be comfortable, like I'm not gonna do X, I'm not gonna do Y, even though I think what's going on is wrong, but I don't want to give up. There's a chance I could lose my comfort. Now you make comfort an idol. And so anytime we make comfort an idol, we are outside the simple life. We're not living simply. So my final thought would be that it's not wrong to enjoy the blessings that God gives us. But if your goal is the blessings and not God's glory, you got an issue.
Yep. No, I agree. I'll echo all of that. You know, the idea is that, you know, we're trying to, I mean, this is simplicity in a complex world. I mean, it's literally counterculture, you know? And so it's not easy. Like I said at the beginning, I struggle with this all the time. You know, I like shiny things and I like new stuff. And I've really, really over the last 6 months, really, I felt like the Lord has kind of guided me and stirred my spirit in this, and that, you know, it's and looking back, and I don't think I'm done with this simplicity process by any stretch of the imagination, but I can look back and look and go, it has made me more grateful. You know, it has made me really appreciate some smaller moments, you know. And so and for that, I'm thankful, you know. It wasn't a flash and arrow sign, like I've said in previous podcasts, but it was just a small nudge, and that small nudge just made me just very grateful for a lot of things that I have. So I don't think you reach a point. Also, I don't think this is a end, like a destination. Like, you don't arrive at simplicity and you're like, all right, boys, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, and let's put out the easy chair. Like, I do think it's a journey. And I think it's going to look different for everybody, but you know, I mean, we're in it, you know, but I think to not get too legalistic, and you really kind of hit it on the head, is that it's okay to enjoy the things that God has blessed you with, as long as it doesn't turn into an idol, you know? So,
and one thing I will say is I guess, because Liz and I have really been praying that God, you know, like, we don't want idols. We don't want this. And if they, like, God might make your life a little more simple if you ask Him to. You know, and so some of us are 2x4 learners. Some of us are, you know, theoretical learners. I'm a 2x4 learner. So God's, you know, so it's to understand that if you are seeking to have everything in its proper place, and you're truly following God, He might work that, but it might be not the way you would want it, you know. So, but yeah, so I think that, but it's good is that God's kingdom first. Like, I mean, that's it, you know. And so to get to that point, and it is hard. I mean, there'll be days, like, I mean, it's one thing to you might be really good at getting your finances where you're living simply, right? Like where I'm not buying things I don't need in this.
Right.
But maybe then you struggle with the fact that with people who aren't, or people that have more, and so they can go out and buy the new pickup or buy this, and then you become covetous of that and jealous of that. Like, so I would say it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. There's always the deception and the temptation for sin on both sides. So keeping God's like the 9 things you talked about, but just keeping God first. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And so I look forward to the other side of eternity where all this is taken care of. But
no doubt.
It's definitely where it's at. So hey, you want to close us in prayer, and then I'll close us out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Father, we just thank you for our time tonight. Father, thank you for, although it wasn't easy necessarily to get here, Father, we got a lot going on in our lives. We're thankful for that. We're thankful for Liz and everything that her surgery's gone through. Thankful that my dad's out of the hospital and that he's at home recovering. We know that life is complex. And when you add children and marriage and work and on top of all that, Father, it's easy to get lost in that. And we're thankful that we have a guiding spirit, that we have the Holy Spirit to bring us back to a simple life, Father, that you want for us, Father, that we're able to be grateful for the things that you've done and be able to appreciate just the blessings that we have. We just pray for our listener, Father, that they would, if this is something that they're struggling with, that they would continue to seek you, to seek your will, Father, and that you would be able to show them what simplicity looks like in their lives. We just ask anything that we've said tonight in error, we just ask that you would correct it, that you would give us grace, and that you would give just guidance to our listener via the Holy Spirit. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys, to another episode, or listener. If you'd like to reach out, you can reach out to us at manhood.neat@gmail.com. Again, manhood.neat @gmail.com. And actually, Dwat, our next podcast, we're actually going to the mailbag. We had a submission that I thought was pretty good, so we'll be hitting that up on the next episode.
We joke about having a listener, but it's not a joke because we do have one because they emailed us.
That's right. He emailed us.
Joke's on you, nerds.
Yep. So, but yeah, so if you'd like to reach out, again, you can email us. And we're on Twitter and Instagram, but we don't do a whole lot there. The best way to get in touch with us, we're 40, so you can go old school, go email. But if you DM either our Twitter at manhood.neat or our Instagram at manhood.neat, I will receive that, and we can get back to you. So, again, we just appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Manhood Neat podcast. Hey, man, tonight, I need you to, let's get me through the last mission in Destiny. Let's do it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. When the witness sees me, he's going to cower.
He's going to cower. He saw me, he laughed.
Yeah.
So, all right, dude. Later.